Hi, and welcome to another episode of Pashhammer. Today I want to talk about an event that I went to over the weekend called The Battle for Green Hollow, the Vampire's Kiss. Let me just show you a little bit more about this event here. It was held in the very sunny side of Glasgow. Not so sunny. Let me just show you what we were dealing with. Glorious Glasgow here, right in the middle. We're in the more rustic part of Glasgow. If I was being generous, it was a little bit rough around the edges. In this venue here, yep, you can see it wasn't as sunny as this, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just an industrial side. It's much the same as a lot of other places that I've been to for Warhammer. This was the Box Hub warehouse. This is the event from the outside. Let me show you a little bit more of what the inside looked like when I was there. So this is what it looks like on the inside. You can tell there's plenty of tables. There was actually 3 systems on the go. There was Old World, there was Age of Sigmar, and there was the Middle Earth battle strategy game. So there were several events hosted at the same time. Good turnout, over 100 people altogether throughout the weekend. Let me show you a little bit more. Oh, there we go. There's a nice little picture of me. This is the Old World side of it. The table mats, on the most part, were quite nice. There was a lot of neoprene mats. The terrain was painted. Some of the mats, there wasn't enough, I don't think, to go around, and some of the armies like this ended up with just a tablecloth, and the mat terrain was a little bit 2D. But overall, it was a good experience. We had quite a lot of people there. There was 40 people that signed up originally. I think by the time we finished, it was closer to 33 or thereabouts. The standard of painting was really quite good. There's just some snapshots that you can see of me taking pictures throughout the weekend. This is a really nicely painted ogre's army, which you don't see an awful lot of. I believe they might have been 3D printed. Yeah, look at these guys. Whoa, big fat boys. And yeah, there was really quite nice. Lots of 3D models, lots of Games Workshop stuff. Everybody was really pulled out the stops for their painting. Yeah, there's definitely some really good scenarios there. You can tell that some of the mats they just didn't have enough, so there were more of the tablecloth variety, which, well, not ideal, but it's at least something that you can play on. I've been to a lot worse in my gaming career, that's for sure. So just a little snapshot of a few of the armies that I took, and a few of the venue shots there as well. I think we're bleeding into day 2 there. Yeah, that certainly is. I want to talk about my games. I want to talk about my games. So what did I take? I took my Warriors army. We had a Chaos Lord on a steed. He had the Mark of Nurgle, Ogre Blade. He had a couple of Favors of the Gods, and he had an extra arm. That essentially meant that he had a 2-up armor save with a 5-up ward, a couple of rolls on Gaze of the Gods, and he had an extra attack which puts him at 6, sometimes at 7 when he starts to roll on that Gaze of the Gods. Really choppy selection. His name was Lord Chop Chop, for that matter. My second character was Bernie Yerfacey. He was a Chaos Sorcerer. He was also on a steed, Mark of Zinch, level 4 with an extra spell on Battle Magic, and he had the Infernal Puppet. Just a really nice zappy sort of character there. Speaking of other zappy characters, I've got Zapski Yabumski. That is another Sorcerer Lord, level 4, also on a steed. This one is unmarked, and he comes with an extra spell, a Power Scroll, and Tome of the Dark Gods, as well as Enchanting Aura. So the idea for this guy is essentially he will roll on Demonology. There's a couple of spells in Demonology I don't really want, and he will default to the Lore of Chaos spells. It's primarily really Fleshy Abundance, Blue Fire, and also the Lore Signature, the Summoning. Really good little selection, really good little ability. Definitely worth taking Tome of the Dark Gods just for that alone. Enchanting Aura is what Enchanting Aura does. It gives your opponent's unit that are in base contact with this guy always strikes last. So really quite something that you see on the Chaos Lord normally, but because I wanted an extra attack on him, I shifted that across to the Demonology guy, who often goes hand in hand with the Chaos Lord. For the rest of the army, I have in core the Claptrap clan, the 10 Chaos Knights, Lances, Undivided, full command. They've got magic resistance 2 with Brazen Collar. They've got the Blasted standard, so that gives me reroll 1s against shooting attacks. In the shooting phase. That was a really useful ability because I found there was an awful lot of shooting at previous events, and I really wanted these guys to make it into combat with as many of them as possible. So quite a handy little ability there. Being undivided also means that they reroll terror tests, which is one way that you can really lose a big chunk of your points to just a really bad roll. Terror, fear, and panic tests. So actually quite useful having them undivided in this sense. Also means that all the characters can go into this unit should they ever need to. Next we have Woofing of 5 Chaos Warhounds. They just have Vanguard. They're just dogs. They're just dogs. You know what dogs do, so they were a really useful little unit actually. For the next one we have We're Just Normal Men. Chaos Marauder Horsemen. 6 of them with shields, Mark of Tzeentch, and a Horsemaster. I had some spare points that I would have preferred a musician, but it's just the way that it fitted a little bit better just to have the champion there. They are essentially a bunker for the Tzeentch sorcerer. With the Mark of Tzeentch, he's allowed to get +1 to cast whenever he's in a Tzeentch unit with a with unit strength 10. So they're quite mobile, very useful to just have the puppet be able to target a lot of different opponents' wizards. Next we have Hugs for All crew, 7 chosen Chaos Knights. They are undivided. They've got Drilled and Lances, they've got Full Plate, they've got Champion and Standard Bearer. The Champion has got Brazen Collar for the magic resistance 2, and the Standard Bearer has the War Banner for an additional bit of combat res. I found that actually quite helpful because it swung a few of the combats that were a little bit sort of ropey. So definitely the War Banner, if you can get it into one unit, that will be in combat. Last but not least, I have my 2 Shartaks. I've got Jack and Victor. They've got the same setup, heavy armor, great weapon. They're really just almost like mini characters. They're very, very good at going out there and threatening small to medium units, being a very cheap little drop that you can put in the beginning of the game, and overall just being quite a handy little bunch. And here it is. Here's the army in person. This is in the middle. We have my Chaos Lord mounted on a steed with his big choppy ogre blade. We have our Demonology caster level 4 here with his big scythe, and a little Tzeentch guy here in the bottom corner. The Tzeentch guy is actually a conversion from the foot version of the Tzeentch wizard that the Chaos have on the mounted Chaos steed. In the back we've got our 2 Jack and Victor, our 2 Dragon Ogres, as well as the Chosen at the back, which are actually using the Vanguard models. These were really quite tricky to rank up, so I think these ones will need a bit more work. Because they really didn't want to go together, and given that they were in drilled formation a lot of the time, yeah, they definitely need a little bit of work. But great models, so quite enjoy painting them, putting them together. We have a little woofing of hounds here in the middle, and right beside my head is basically the Marauders. Marauder Cav with a champion at the front who's tooting a horn because that's what champions do in this group. At the very back, we have our group of Chaos Knights. Quite nice. I used contrast colors for pretty much all of this. Some dry brushing, bits and pieces. You can tell that it was a rushed army, but I got a lot of nice comments over the weekend, and I'm actually quite happy with the way they are now. I have left them, the bases are quite bare, but I have left them like this for now until I go and do a little bit more work on them, probably just to build up the bases a little bit, just so they rank up a little bit nicer. Chaos Knights are not too bad to rank up. They are the new AOS Chaos Knights, the Slave to Darkness models, but the Vanguard / Chosen are really quite tricky, so they're probably the ones that will need the most work. So that's that. Let's go into my game. So this was my table when I arrived. You'll see there's a lovely big crack down the middle, which was a bit inconvenient, a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. But overall, you know, it was workable. We had some chunky impassable terrain. There was an awful lot of impassable terrain throughout the event, to be honest. But it was fine. The tables were there. You can see my army fits all into a nice, really useful box. Let's have a little look at my game one. So I happened to draw the spare player. His name was Adam. He hasn't played a huge amount of games. He wasn't expecting to play this weekend, actually, but he did end up facing up against me. Lucky lad. He brought Tomb Kings. I don't have his specific list because I think he was just using what could be supplied at the day, but it was a mortuary cult list. It had a Screaming Skull catapult or two. It had a few Skelly archers. It had a Shabti here in the bottom corner. It had more Shabti here in the middle. It had a Tomb King on a Bone Dragon. And then it had some poison archers and the level 4, and of course a casket there as well. We basically set up against each other. You can see my chosen here in the bottom left corner, well, on my left, knights, dogs in the middle. We've got a Jack and Victor holding up middle in the front, and then we have the Tzeentch sorcerer sitting in his marauders. So let's have a little look and see how we got on. This is the state of play at the end of turn 1. You can see that my chosen went up the flank. They want to go there and then basically try and flank the units here. The Chaos Knights move along, they try and zap things, the Dragon Ogres try and threaten things. I seem to remember I left him some long charges onto one of my Dragon Ogres with the Bone Dragon, and he took the bait, and I think he tried to charge him 2 or 3 times at maximum range, which wasn't likely to succeed, but it kept the Tomb King in that corner, which is quite nice because it's a bit of a scary piece. Things moved on rather rapidly, as you can tell. The Shabti on this flank are now dead. You can see that the knights have made contact with the Tomb King. Sorry, the bunker for the Tomb Kings, which had a, I think his level. I think in fact his level 4 is here at the very far back, sitting away. But there was a level 2 in there as well. This pool here that you can see, which I'll show you next, was actually combat res for my chosen, making it into combat. I think there was something like 30 kills. 1 dice represents 1 kill, plus banners, flanks, etc., etc. So as you can tell, they crumbled quite quickly. And here you see, I believe, yeah, we basically just steamrolled across throughout the whole army. There wasn't a huge amount that he could really do to stop them. By a certain turn, we were pretty much done. So at the end of that, I managed to kill all the Tomb Kings. They all crumbled. The king died. I believe he went into a challenge with the Chaos Lord, and the Chaos Lord chopped him up, and the combat res did the rest. So he lost all the models. In the end, it was 2,299 victory points for me. I lost my dogs, I lost the Marauders, and the 2 Shartaks for 272. So the difference was 2,027, and it was a big win to me. Which was great. So that was game 1. In game 2, I faced against one of my friends, Graham Hart. He was holding the mortuary cults. Now these guys were in. He actually won an event the weekend before, a 1-day event with the same list. So he took the same mortuary cult list. What did he have in it? So he had a mortuary priest, level 2, standard bearer with the poison item, elementalism. He had level 4, who was the general on the Bone Dragon, with a 5-up ward save, lore familiar to pick his own spells on illusion, serpent staff, which is like a combat weapon basically. He had another level 2 on elementalism just for support. Big block of Skelly archers, which is where the poison goes, of course, with standard, musician, all the usual stuff. A couple of tomb swarms for just to take wounds off for casting. A big chunky unit of a Shabti with the great bows, which are really quite nasty. Couple of Tomb Scorpions, couple of Necrosphinx, and a casket. Very nasty list. Lots of painful options there. And this is how we were deployed. You can tell that I've got my my Chaos Knights here in the middle. Basically, I've got the Demonology guy in the Chaos Knights. I've got the Tzeentch guy in the Tzeentch unit, providing casting bonuses. I've got some dogs here. I've got one of my Shartaks here, one of my Shartaks on the left. And in the left corner, you can see the drilled unit of Chosen. Oh, can you see it? It's actually right behind my head. There we go. big unit of chosen here. They actually have my general in them as well. So the idea here was basically if I have to face up against the Bone Dragon, I really want my choppiest character in there as well. So let's see what happened after turn 1. I clearly repositioned. I didn't fancy the going up against the Tomb King with the big block coming up against me. So I repositioned my chosen to be in the middle, just to put everything down the middle and then send it upwards. I was trying to make sure that I was not getting charged by the Tomb King and both of the Necrosphinxes. That would have been the worst case scenario. So what I was trying to do was create a situation where at best they would charge me with 2, hoping that I could maybe combat res them enough to charge my second support unit in. And that's basically what I tried to arrange here. He did in the end send both his Necrosphinxes into the chosen, which was enough to kill them, I think. Did it kill my general? I can't quite tell. In fact, actually, I think the general jumped into the Chaos Knights eventually, because that appears to be where he is there. Yeah, that's right, and I still got my puppet sitting around here. Okay, fair enough. So basically, I burst through his lines to try and get some points, get to Shabti, and avoid the big scary Flappy Birds. Unfortunately, he did kill all the chosen, so he got points for that. And then the Tomb King, this one also getting baited for long distance charges here on the left flank, and not really making very far. Oh, you can these pictures are jumping around a little bit, but this is our deployment. Don't appear to have a picture of us finishing our game. Okay, so basically, yeah, let's just have a little look and see if I can find you some more pictures, because this would be really helpful. There we go. There we go. So this was a really crucial part. What happened here was basically I did a fair bit of damage to his Shabti. I killed one of the Necrosphinx, and I had a charge onto his Tomb King, his priest, his general. My thought here was basically if I kill that, lots of stuff crumbles, and I was quite confident I should be able to kill it because the Chaos Lord is, really quite choppy, and he's only toughness 5. So Chaos Lord is hitting the priest on 2s and wounding him on 2s with lots and lots of attacks. I think I rolled, you can see there's some buffs. I had some extra attacks. I had some, extra strength. There was lots and lots of buffs. Basically, I was quite confident that would be able to do enough damage to win out. I had an 11-inch charge onto the priest. It was going through some dangerous terrain. So essentially, my guys are movement 7. I failed to cast a +1 movement spell. So I was movement 7. I needed a 4 on my 2d6, picking the lowest, and my Swift Stride. Unfortunately, I failed that charge. I rolled something like a 1 and a 2 on the 2d6, and then like a 2 on the Swift Stride. So it was a really poor roll. What was made worse is essentially this unit going into the dangerous terrain, which then triggered a bunch of dangerous terrain tests. I think there were, at the time, 6 models in that unit, and here was my dangerous terrain test. Yeah, not looking very good. So my unit that was actually looking pretty comfortable suddenly lost 3 or 4 members. It was pretty horrendous, quite painful, and gave him partial points for that unit, which really started to matter going forward. So quite unfortunate. We might have been a turn short there, which was a real shame because we lacked the points. So in the end there, I lost. I got partial points for the Chaos Knights. I lost the dogs. I lost the Chosen, and I lost them in combat, so I lost the banner there as well. And from him, I think I got some skeletons, small partial points for the Shabti and the Necrosphinx. It actually ended up being a 40. So I got 494 points, and I lost 537 points. difference being 43 points. So it was actually a draw in the end. Don't get a huge amount of draws in Warhammer, and this is one of them. So very interesting. Graham, I'll get you next time. So what happened in my game 3? So in game 3, I was facing up against an old friend, Dave Hunter. Dave and I haven't played in 7 to 10 years, since probably 8th edition, so it was nice for us to get together and play again. He brought his Wood Elves. I believe this is essentially just what he had painted. It didn't have a huge amount of slant towards the most competitive side, but he just brought the things that he liked. So what did he have? He had a Glade Lord on a Forest Dragon. He had the Spear of Twilight, which is a really interesting weapon. It's strength as user, -2 AP, and you always wound on 3+. So a really good weapon. One thing that Dave also failed to mention is this weapon is Killing Blow, which I didn't know until I charged my Chaos Lord into the dragon, but hey-ho. He also had, I believe it's the mantle here, the Relarian's mantle, which if you are within 3 inches of a wood, it gives you a 4-up ward save, which was really helpful when you were beside the wood, but when you weren't, it was a bit of a liability. What else did he have? He had a Spellweaver level 4 with a 6-up ward save. He had a Obsidian Lodestone for Magic Resistance 1, which actually really did come into it. Oaken Stave, which is the +1 to dispel within 3 inches of a wood, I believe. Or it lets you roll your 3 dice and pick the highest 2. Sort of like a reverse puppet for dispelling, and it gives you a 27-inch dispel range, so really helpful. That was on high magic, which probably wasn't the best lore, to be honest. I'm sure Dave will agree. Next, we have a 6-unit of Dryads, another 6-unit of Dryads, 8 Glade Guard with poison arrows. We have 7 Glade Guard with more poison arrows. We have some scouts here and some more scouts with poison arrows. So basically everything that could had poison arrows. In the special units, we have a 3-man unit of Treekin, and we have, in the very bottom, we have 2 Treemen and a Great Eagle. So actually quite a chunky army. It was surprisingly hitty and actually had a few combat threats that took quite a while to chew through. Our table that we had was yet another one of these cloth tables. It was a little bit dark, so apologies for the quality of these shots. But this is roughly what it looked like when we set up. We have my dogs in the middle here. I've got the Tzeentch bunker beside it. I've got the Chaos Knights beside it. And on the right-hand side, I have the Chosen Knights. Dave set up some scouts here in the middle, and then everything else in the top left corner, including the dragon. In this little tree selection here, you can sort of tell there's 2 tree men on 2 different sizes, base sizes, 2 tree men, an eagle, and some dryads as well. Basically, just to keep me honest and to keep me busy. And how did it go? As you'd imagine, I basically pushed it all forward. The Chosen coming around the flank here to try and harass the tree men. Chaos Knights going around the middle, zapping what they can. And we have the Chaos Dragon coming out to play a little bit, but I'm keeping him sort of at bay. The piece of terrain that's actually behind the dragon there is a wheat field. It's difficult terrain, not dangerous. It doesn't count as wood or anything. It counts as natural, of course, if you have a Green Knight. But in this case, it didn't provide him any protection really at all. So maybe not the best choice of terrain piece there. And where did we go from there? Well, it looked like the Chosen decided to start taking up some chaff. The Great Eagle died fairly quickly. On the left hand side here, the Tzeentch sorcerer started to zap his units of elves on this flank when he could reach them. Then the dragon came out to play and they decided to run away, basically. Well, the Treekin were essentially used as a bit of a blocking unit here in the middle. In the top left-hand side, you can see I've got the Pillar of Fire. This was cast early on in the game, and to be honest, caused headaches for Dave throughout. It went back and forth across his units. It threatened his level 4 that was sort of dodging around the units and stuff as well. Yeah, it caused a whole host of issues as well. Yeah, so we chewed through the Treekin. The elves are starting to wither away on this flank, and the tree men here are putting up a good fight. But to be honest, we're starting to get out combat res just by the knights coming in. You can see that there's a Shartak in here who was sort of really awkwardly placed. There's the dragon is still here at the bottom, trying to be a nuisance, but to be honest, probably not really wanting to commit to the big unit of knights that has some static res and a decent combat lord there as well. My Zinch guys were basically just sort of dancing around. I believe this is a picture actually that I'm showing fleeing in this direction to try and wind things up. So essentially, you can see, I think that's the Zinch wizard here in the bottom left. Yeah, the Zinch guy just popping out, zapping some elves, popping back in. He has his level 4 here in the corner. That was really interesting because basically the level 4 tried to dodge the pillar. Those talismanic tattoos with a 6-up ward save probably saved something like 3 or 4 wounds, keeping the level 4 in the game all the way up until the very end. But I did manage to zap the level 4. I believe it was a pillar of fire that actually went through her in the very end and caused the very last wound. So quite exciting, quite an exciting game, but a win nevertheless. So Dave lost a whole bunch of scouts. He lost a level 4. The dragon survived, despite me charging a Chaos Lord into it in the last turn to go for a big win. But I lost not a huge amount. I lost the dogs. I lost the Chosen eventually, and their banner, and I lost one of the Shartags as well. So most of that was, to be honest, to tree men, and that was that. So Dave got 515 points off me. I've got 1,285 off him. 770 point difference, so ended up being a win to me. So that was day 1. I basically ended up with 2 wins and a draw. Not too bad, undefeated, feeling fairly confident going into day 2. The draw had actually gone up before the morning, which is fine, but I actually prefer if the draw is done in the morning, because then you don't really have as much knowledge of who you're facing up against. But the draw did go up beforehand, and it looks like I would be facing up against Charlie Hanley. Charlie and I have spoken online before, but we've never played together, so it was quite nice to play a new opponent. He had a fairly unintimidating vampires list. He brought a Master Necromancer, who was his general. He was on foot. Level 4, extra spell, Earthen Rod. He had another Master Necromancer, which had the Mortis engine, who had level 4 extra spell. That one was on illusion, with a Skull Staff, which provides +1 to Dispel. I believe it's cast and Dispel. Crown of the Damned, very nasty item. It gives him a 4-up ward save and stupidity, but because he can reroll his leadership test, the stupidity never really came into it. He had 2 Banshees there, a White Lord Battle Standard with the Screaming Banner, Charm Shield, Helm of Commandment, and Skeletal Steel. The trick with that one is the Helm of Commandment basically gives him an ability to give his unit plus D3 weapon skill, which was the Graveyard Guard. So the Grave Guard with just the White Lord could go up to weapon skill 6. With some of the spells, they could go up to weapon skill 9 if they really get the roll for it. So they could really be quite nasty. Grave Guard, they've got the Drakenov banner for the 5-up regen. They're drilled, Standard Bearer, Magic Res, all the tricks, great weapons. Quite a scary unit to face up against. 20 unit of zombies with a Standard Bearer, which was a surprise actually, but it did come into it because it did help Charlie win some of the combats by quite amount, just additional combat res there. 3 fell bats and a black coach and 4 Vargai. So a few little tricky items there. The black coach didn't do a huge amount, I'll be honest. I have a lot of magical attacks, so I guess against me it's not the most useful thing. But actually, having a toughness 6 flying chariot that could just position itself, it was really a decent blocker. The Vargeists, I think they're there as a tech piece. They're there more to throw them into soft targets and just blend through things. They were quite scary, but I tried to bait them the whole entire time, and it sort of kept them busy until basically the end of the game. So how did that get on? Let's have a quick look at the game. So this is our deployment. You can see I've got my dogs here in the middle. I've got one of the Shartags on the left, one of the Shartags on the right, the Zinch bunker in the middle there as well. I put both of my knight units to the right flank, and I actually put my Chaos Lord into the unit here on the right hand side, the Chosen. Why did I do that? Well, I basically thought he could go around the flank here and try and threaten his units. Charlie, on the other hand, he put his Banshees in the middle here, protected by his two big blocks. Now they didn't have any. They didn't have any. They had space between them, so I couldn't chuck a pillar through. He had his Master Necromancer, his General at the very far back that you can tell here, and then he had his Black Coach and the Mortis Engine on this side. Turn one, fairly straightforward. Basically, just trying to position myself. I made a mistake here because I pushed my Tzeentch bunker forward to be in range of providing arcane urgency for the chosen knights. However, I didn't end up casting that spell. I literally just missed it. That was a little misstep on my front. And those knights weren't as far forward as I wanted them to be. As it happened, it wasn't a big issue, as you can see in the next turn. But it did mean that it exposed a flank for the Tzeentch bunker. Everything shuffled forward. I baited the Vargheists. They didn't really do everything. I positioned my dogs here, basically hoping that I would stop his lines and I'd be able to flank them with the chosen knights. As it happened, that's not quite what happened here. Yeah, I think this is it. Basically, the bunker of Tzeentch here got charged by the zombies, flank charged, and they won combat, and these guys were fleeing, so not a great turn here. The dogs got charged by the Banshee, which was actually terrored off, and that ran off. And the knights here had miasma cast on them, essentially meaning that they couldn't charge the next turn. It was frustrating because it had magic resistance 2, and I had the puppet in range, and I had a level 4 dispelling spells. So really, I should have had the advantage there, but he managed to get a good roll, and I couldn't dispel it, so they weren't going anywhere the next turn. Also, he screamed at them, taking off 4 of the chosen, which is a real pain. But I thought that's fine. We're still in the game. We still have all our characters. You know, it's not a great turn, but let's see what happens here. So what did happen? Let's have a little look. The zombies in his next turn charged my Chaos Knights. Did they charge me or did I charge them? I think yeah, they charged the Chaos Knights. The zombies charged the Chaos Knights, and through a combination of just really poor performance, I just could not get the combat res to win that out. So the zombies ended up winning combat against Chaos Knights, the bunker, and they ended up putting me on a very shaky break test, which I failed. Now, on the bottom right here, you can tell that, you know, we're fairly close to the board edge. Because I failed a break check, I didn't want to get run down by zombies. I thought, okay, I'm 14 inches away. That's probably a pretty good opportunity to get away from the zombies. Let's use Swift Stride. Ended up being a bit of a mistake, and I rolled exactly 14 inches, and that whole Chaos bunker just ran right off the board, which was a real problem, as you can imagine. The point was they were meant to come here and then rally and then, you know, do some damage. But unfortunately, that did not happen. After that, I was basically trying to chase for points. My Chaos Lord ended up jumping out of the unit. I wonder if you can see it here. Yeah. I basically was left with just my Chaos Lord and the Chosen. The Tzeentch bunker did actually rally in the end. The Chaos Lord pumped out on his own, hoping to bait the Vargheists, maybe get some points on this flank. The Vargheist did come in. He killed 3 of them. But before he could finish them off, unfortunately, the Banshees screamed him to death. So the Chaos Lord died. The Chosen, I believe, were left gloriously till the end of the game, so they managed to run off. The Tzeentch guy came in and zapped a few things. It was quite a convincing victory towards Charlie. It wasn't really a huge amount that I could do there. I felt Charlie got a lot of really good magic rolls. The +1, +2 to cast really helps on that front, but I thought with my magic resistance and puppet it would sort of even the scores, but the spells he was getting through were just causing a lot of damage to my guys. And then you roll enough of those leadership tests, and at some point you'll roll high and you remove a lot of expensive models, which is obviously a problem for my list. Obviously the Chaos bunker running off the board was not ideal, and that really swung the game from maybe a narrow win to a massive win to him. In the end, I lost my general. I lost the Chaos Bunker, Chaos Knight Bunker, the Shartax both died. Yeah, it looks like it was pretty much everything was dead. There wasn't a huge amount left. Charlie got 1,740 points, and I got 313, which is mostly just fell bats, some partial points for Vargeists, a few bits and pieces here. So 1427 difference to Charlie, so a massive win, well deserved. I'll definitely respect the vampires a lot more the next time I play. So where did that take me? After that, I went over to my last game, which was, I guess, against Ross Wilkinson. Ross is actually the buddy of my previous round opponent, Charlie. They traveled up together, so it was kind of cool that I got to face both of them in the same day in the same event. What did Ross take? Well, he took Warriors of Chaos, which is quite nice for your last game, that if it's a mirror match, you know at least exactly what's going on. He had a big, scary Dragon Lord with all the tricks. He had the full plate, he had Mark of Nurgle, he had Dragon Slaying Sword, which obviously against me wasn't particularly useful, as I didn't have any large targets, no monsters to slay. He had a couple of favors, he had regen on him, Enchanting Aura for the strikes last, so quite a nasty, hitty dragon. He had a level 4 on a demonic mount, Mark of Tzeentch, battle magic, extra spell, infernal puppet, and a favor, and ruby ring as well. So quite a standard setup. Quite zappy, quite nasty. He had two. He had one big unit of 8 Chaos Knights with the rampaging banner for reroll charges. These ones were Mark of Corn, so they were quite a scary hitty unit. He had a unit of Marauders, a big unit of Marauders that was Mark of Tzeentch, with throwing axes and flails. They were primarily there for the Sorcerer Lord to sit in. In addition, they had 2 units of 5 Marauders with flails and Mark of Corn. So lots of really hitty units, all paired up with a Warpfire Dragon at the very bottom there. So lots of very, very scary units coming at you. Definitely not a soft list. Very, very interesting to see what happened there. And this is roughly what we saw here. Let me just show you the pictures. This is how we deployed. You can sort of tell I have the Chaos Bunker right beside my shoulder here. In that is all my characters. I put all the eggs in one basket, thinking I want to go through that dragon at the very top here, the Warpfire Dragon, and I want to ideally take them on one at a time. I've got the Marauder Horse in the middle, which are not really doing a huge amount. Oh no, actually, sorry, that wasn't everybody in the bunker. I've got a Tzeentch Wizard here in the bottom, hiding behind that rock there. We can sort of tell. On the right hand side, I've got, as usual, my drilled unit of Chosen. Ross deployed his dragon in the middle, the big unit of knights at the very far back, Marauders at the very far back, and then the bunker of Marauders with the wizard at the back here as well, with the Warpfire Dragon as well. So what happened? Well, basically, we pushed it all forward. Ross came round with the dragon on this side, and he basically gave me a charge with my bunker onto the dragon. And I thought, okay, well, that's a bit of a ropey matchup. However, I managed to roll the extra attack on my Gaze of the Gods for the general. I managed to get my demonic spells off for the extra attack and extra armor piercing. I managed to get the toughness spell off. So I was basically going in with as strong a lead as I could possibly do that. So the bunker went into his dragon, and I managed to do 8 wounds in one round of combat just from the Chaos Lord alone on his dragon. His dragon did 1 wound back, managed to lose combat by loads, but actually got away despite me trying to run him down. He then basically played keep away with that dragon. The Chaos Lord ran away with 2 wounds, and I actually ended up killing him through a combination of fireballs and blue fire. So a bit of an inglorious death for the Great Chaos Lord, but he definitely limped out of that combat there. The rest of it was my Chaos Knights basically coming in to try and kill his knights, who I've been zapping up as I was sort of coming in to that. His Warpfire Dragon, I believe, charged me in the rear. It did, but it did. I mean, you can tell that the Chaos Knights here, they're fully stacked. But by the time the Warpfire Dragon was done with them, they were basically down to just a Chaos Lord and the mage and a couple of guys. The dragon was down to very, very few wounds, however, so I did manage to win that combat out in the middle. All of that stuff died, and I've got my Shartak here coming across, making his way towards his bunker. We didn't really play out much more turns. I think we basically called the game at turn 4 or 5, because by that point I've killed both his dragons, and I've got most of the win points there. So it was a fairly concluded game. I ended up clearing up most of the points for 2,150, and I lost some dogs. I lost a Shartak and partial points for my big bunker of Chaos Knights. So ended up being 2,150 points for me, 254 points for Ross. 1896 was a difference, so a big win to finish out the event. And that was basically it. That was the event. I played 5 games. I ended up with 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, and ended up in 6th place, which is not too bad. I was a bit disappointed. I was hoping to do a bit better, to be honest, because I had been practicing the list for a while. But the game that I drew had a fair bit of bad luck, and we didn't quite finish out all the turns. And the other game that I lost, Charlie played it really well and ended up actually winning the event. So if you are going to lose to somebody, it better be the person who wins overall, isn't it? So it very much felt like a great event. There was all of my games were enjoyable. There wasn't any. I didn't see any unfriendliness at the event. It was definitely one that was worthwhile watching. Let me show you the pictures of the best painted, because I know some people like to see these as well. At this event, there was also the Lord of the Rings guys and the AOS guys, and there was best painted judged for all. So you'll see a couple of AOS armies here. The lighting is not ideal in this place, but you can sort of tell, they're really, really nicely painted models here. So that was all the Lord of the Rings stuff. And then we enter the Old World stuff. So this ended up, this is Callum Hayes' Dark Elves, and they ended up actually winning best painted. They're very striking. I've played against this army before. Callum is a good mate, so a very good army, and he actually ended up being on table 1 at the very end, fighting for a finishing place. So he not only is a really good painter, but is a really good gamer as well. So well done to him. This one here, this is Scott Johnson and his Warriors. They ended up taking a 3rd place. Very nice, classic, old school metal stuff. I mean, like you've got Toads here. You've got old Warriors. These are all, for the most part, old models and just really nicely painted. Scott ended up taking 3rd place in the painting. And this here is another Chaos Warriors army by Matt Wood. Matt ended up taking the 2nd best painted, and actually my vote as well. I thought this was a really well converted army. It was all lovely and disgusting and nurgly. You can see, hopefully I've got more pictures of it here. He did a lot of heavy conversion work. He did a lot of really, really nice painted jobs. Like it's very subtle, and a very nice overall effect. So definitely well done. Other nominations, we had Aidan Higgins. He had his Orcs and Goblins. So what happened in the end? Who were the runners and the riders? In 3rd place, we had Jonathan Bowles with his Orcs and Goblins. 2nd place, Harrison Shore with his Bretonian Exiles. And in 1st place, my round 4 opponent is Charlie Hanley with his filthy, filthy vampire counts. Very well done to Charlie. He did a good job. A very friendly guy, so it was actually a pleasure to play him. Very well deserved. So definitely well done to him. There was also a Best General Award, which is essentially the person who outperformed their expected list performance the most. This was something that the TO, Chris Cousins, made himself. It was a category that where everybody voted on who had the sort of strongest lists, and whoever performed the best versus their expected outcome actually got a Best General Award. So that was taken by Aidan Higgins and his Orcs and Goblins. You saw them earlier. 2nd Best General was Tom Dudley with his High Elves. He also got the Best Newcomer Award. And then 3rd best was David Adamski. So that's the Best General prizes. And last but not least is the Best Painted prizes. Callum Hayes Dark Elves, as I showed you before. Matt Wood's Warriors of Chaos. and Scott Johnson's Warriors of Chaos. All very well deserved. And that was it. That was basically the event. We had 30 plus players turn up in the end. Everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and it was a very well run event. Very well done to Chris for putting up a great event. I'm hoping you'll do more, mate, because I would love to attend them. Well done to Vlad, who hosted all the 3 events. I would like to see some changes going forward. Maybe the venue was nice-ish. It was enough. It was rustic, but maybe it'd be nice if we had slightly more space, because given the amount of space we had in the hall, we didn't really need to have the tables quite so close together. There was a lot. The terrain was very limited for the old world guys. I think the AOS guys got slightly nicer terrain that seemed all nice and themed. Maybe they got pick of the bunch, because we basically got, there were tables with maybe, out of 7 bits of terrain, 5 of them were impassable. So you sort of want to have a bit more variety. But it was all painted. It was all done. It was all run on time. So organization was decent. Maybe it would be nice to see the quality improve over next year. I would certainly love to come back. It was a very good first event for the Scottish calendar, first GT for the Scottish calendar. Well done to all of those that won the prizes, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do like this sort of content, I'm trying to do a little bit more of this. Please give me feedback. I'm very much listening to what people have to say. I really would love for you to subscribe and like the channel as well. And that really helps grow it going forward. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.